Hi everyone, Flaming Footy here and welcome back to a new video on the channel. And today guys, we are going to be going over the teams contending for the finals in 2023 for the AFL. Now before I do go ahead and start, I do want to say that I did do this kind of video last year, and today I've decided to mould the top 4 and the top 8 versions together to make it one bigger video, but with every team contending for the finals and where I feel like they could be, top 4, top 8, etc. Now the reason why I've got every team down here is because everybody's going to say that every team they think can make the finals, any team has a chance. But in today's video, I'm going to be going over the most realistic chances for 2023. So there are a stack of choices for finals teams, probably the most obvious being Geelong for 2023. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and take through their fixture. Round 1, they play Collingwood. Round 2, they've got Carlton. Round 3, got Gold Coast. Round 4, Hawthorn. Round 5, West Coast. Round 6, Sydney. Round 7, Essendon. Round 8, the Adelaide Crows. Round 9, Richmond. Round 10, Fremantle. Round 11, GWS. Round 12, Western Bulldogs. Round 13 is their bye. Round 14 is Port Adelaide. Round 15 is Melbourne. Round 16 is Sydney. Round 17, North Melbourne. Round 18, Essendon. Round 19, Brisbane. Round 20, Fremantle. Round 21, Port Adelaide. Round 22, Collingwood. Round 23, St Kilda. And round 24, Western Bulldogs. So obviously playing a lot of their games at GMHBA Stadium, which is their primary home ground towards the back end of the year. Now, they are the team to beat in 2023 as well, which should give them lots of confidence. And where do I feel like they're going to be finishing in the finals? Well, we're going to be dividing this up into 2 brackets, 1 to 4 and 5 to 8. And in my opinion, they are most certainly a 1 to 4 side. So next up, another side that, again, is probably quite an obvious pick is the Brisbane Lions. Now, they do look to have one of the best lists in the competition, probably closely with the Geelong Cats. Again, quite another obvious choice that you'd probably put in your finals. Time to go through their fixture. Port Adelaide in round 1, Melbourne in round 2, the Doggies in round 3, Collingwood in round 4, Brisbane in round 5, the Giants in round 6, Freo in round 7, Carlton in round 8, Essendon in round 9, round 10 is Gold Coast, round 11 is Crows, round 12 is their bye, round 13 Hawthorn, round 14 Sydney, round 15 St Kilda, round 16 Richmond, round 17 West Coast, round 18 Melbourne, round 19 Geelong, round 20 Gold Coast, round 21 Freo, round 22 Adelaide, round 23 Collingwood, and round 24 St Kilda. So again, I feel like Brisbane are going to be another side that's going to be a team to beat in 2023. I feel like the Gabba is going to be a really tough place to win. I feel like they might only lose a couple of times up there this year, probably once or twice. I feel like, again, they are right in that 1 to 4 bracket in 2023, just with all their young talent, but also their mix of experience. They are just such a well-balanced and great side heading into 2023. That's why they're 1 to 4. So next side that I've got is last year's grand finalist, Sydney. So some could say that they are in for a fall this year after being belted in the grand final, but here is their fixture. Gold Coast in round 1, round 2 is Hawthorn, round 3 Melbourne, round 4 Port, round 5 Richmond, round 6 Geelong, round 7 GWS, round 8 Collingwood, round 9 Fremantle, round 10 North Melbourne, round 11 Carlton, round 12 is their bye, round 13 St Kilda, round 14 Brisbane, round 15 West Coast, round 16 Geelong, round 17 Richmond, round 18 the Western Bulldogs, round 19 Fremantle, round 20 Essendon, round 21 GWS, round 22 Gold Coast, round 23 Adelaide, round 24 Melbourne. So personally, in my opinion, I feel like they are not going to be falling out of the finals altogether. However, I do feel like they are going to have a little bit of a collapse and probably only just sneak into the finals. I feel like they're in 5 to 8 for me. Probably would be looking at a home elimination final, but I feel like will be towards the lower end of 5 to 8. They could have a great year and make the top 4 still, but my prediction for the Swans is 5 to 8. So Melbourne have been a force to be reckoned with for the past couple of years of the AFL. They had an extremely great 2021 and started, I'm pretty sure it was 10-0 or 9-0 in 2022. So I feel like the departure of Luke Jackson will hurt, but the arrival of Brodie Grundy is still going to help out just as much. They've got the Western Bulldogs in round 1, the Lions in round 2, the Swans in round 3, challenging opening 3, round 4 West Coast, round 5 Essendon, round 6 Richmond, round 7 North, round 8 Gold Coast, round 9 Hawthorn, round 10. Look from here on. This is where they can have a bit of a collapse. Port Adelaide, Fremantle, Carlton, Collingwood, round 13. Round 14, their bye. Round 15, Geelong. Round 16, GWS. Round 17, St Kilda. Round 18, Brisbane round 19, Adelaide round 20, Richmond round 21, North round 22, Carlton round 23, Hawthorn round 24, Sydney. So their last couple of rounds aren't too hard. It's that middle patch which they're playing the hardest teams. And in the past couple of years, that's when they've seemed to have a little bit of a collapse and start to lose a couple of games in that middle patch after having a good start to the year. They go a bit shaky in the middle and then recover at the end. If they do go a little bit shaky in the middle of the year, that could definitely lead to a 5 to 8 finish or miss the finals altogether. I still feel like they could really be anywhere in that 1 to 4, 5 to 8, but I feel like they'll probably be 1 to 4. So the Doggies is the next side, and this is just a video of teams that are contending for the finals. Not necessarily they're going to make them, so let's go ahead and have a look at their fixture. So opening up there, round 1 with Melbourne, round 2, St Kilda, round 3, Brisbane, round 4, Richmond, round 5, Port Adelaide, round 6, Freo, round 7, Hawthorn, round 8, GWS, round 9, Carlton, round 10, Adelaide, round 11, Gold Coast, round 12, Geelong, round 13, Port Adelaide, round 14, North, round 15, Bye, round 16, Freo, round 17, Collingwood, round 18, Sydney, round 19, Essendon, round 20, Giants, round 21, Richmond, round 22, Hawthorn, round 23, West Coast, round 24, the Western Bulldogs. So they are one of the sides that play Marvel the best, which is going to be big to their advantages. They do play quite a lot of games at Marvel, and we'll be hoping to have some sides there that don't play Marvel very well. So my prediction, if they do make finals, is most certainly a 5 to 8. That's if they make finals, but I am predicting them to miss. But if they do make finals, 5 to 8. Alright, on to Richmond. So obviously adding Taranto and Hopper to their side is going to make him a very big powerhouse. Only slight problem could be Marvel, but if they can get the hang of Marvel, they should be fine. Round 1, they've got Carlton. Round 2, they've got Adelaide. Round 3, Collingwood. Round 4, Doggies. Round 5, Sydney. Round 6, Melbourne. Round 7, Gold Coast. Round 8, West Coast. Round 9, Geelong. Round 10, Essendon. Round 11, Port. Round 12, Giants. Round 13, Freo. Round 14, St Kilda. Round 15, their bye. Round 16 versus the Lions. Round 17 is Sydney. Round 18 is West Coast. Round 19 is Hawthorn. Round 20 is Melbourne, round 21 is the Doggies, round 22 is St Kilda, round 23 is North, and round 24 is Port Adelaide. So obviously not too many games at Mar, we're still going to have to play a couple of them, but I feel like they are anywhere really from 1 to 8. I feel like probably more likely to be top 4. So yeah, I'm probably going to say 1 to 4, but if there was a bracket of about 2 to 6 or 3 to 6, that's probably where I'd have them, is there. Alright, so next up is the side that jumped so many places last year, 17th in 2021, 4th in 2022. Are they going to have another great year this year, Collingwood? So in round 1, a blockbuster game versus the Cats, round 2 versus Port Adelaide, round 3 Richmond, round 4 Brisbane, round 5 St Kilda, round 6 Essendon, round 7 Adelaide, round 8 Sydney, round 9 GWS, round 10 good old rivals Carlton, round 11 North, round 12 West Coast, round 13 Melbourne, round 14 Bye, round 15 Adelaide, round 16 Gold Coast, round 17 the Doggies, round 18 Freo, round 19 Port Adelaide, round 20 Carlton, round 21 Hawthorn, round 22 Geelong, round 23 Brisbane, and round 24 Essendon. So they play Carlton obviously twice, which is going to be interesting to see how those games go. But yeah, I feel like Collingwood, I feel like they're going to have a little bit of a drop this year because of how many close games they won last year. So for me this year, I feel like they could make the top 4, but I think they'll come back a bit and go 5 to 8. So next up, we're going to do Collingwood's rivals Carlton, and yeah, I wonder whether they're going to make finals this year. So you'd be thinking with the additions they've had the past couple of years, surely it's time for them to make finals this year. Well, let's go through the fixture and see. Round 1, they've got Richmond. Round 2, they've got Geelong. Round 3, they've got the Giants. Round 4, North Melbourne. Round 5, Adelaide. Round 6, St Kilda. Round 7, West Coast. Round 8, Brisbane. Round 9, the Western Bulldogs. Round 10, Collingwood. Round 11, Sydney. Round 12, Melbourne. Round 13, Essendon. Round 14, Gold Coast. Round 15, Bye. Round 16, Hawthorn. Round 17, Freo. Round 18, Port Adelaide. Round 19, West Coast. Round 20, Collingwood. Round 21, St Kilda. 22, Melbourne. 23, Gold Coast. 24, GWS. I feel like this year with this fixture, it's actually not that bad. So I feel like surely this year, with the amount of primetime games they're getting as well, surely this year Carlton have got to make that next step and make the finals. So in my opinion, I feel like they're going to be quite similar to Collingwood. They could jump up into the top 4 and make that big impact, but I reckon they're going to be 5 to 8 if they do make the finals. Alright, so next up we're doing Port Adelaide after their 0-5 start last year. That did harm their chances of making finals. With some big additions, will they be back in September this year? So round 1, they've got the Lions. Round 2, they've got Collingwood. Round 3, Showdown versus Adelaide. Round 4, Sydney. Round 5, the Doggies. Round 6, West Coast. Round 7, St Kilda. Round 8, Essendon. Round 9, North Melbourne. Round 10, Melbourne. Round 11, Richmond. Round 12, Hawthorn. Round 13, Doggies. Round 14, Geelong. Round 15, Bye. Round 16, Essendon. Round 17, Gold Coast. Round 18, Carlton. Round 19, Collingwood. Round 20, another Showdown versus the Crows. Round 21, the Cats. Round 22, the Giants. Round 23, the Dockers. And round 24, the Tigers. So I feel like this is going to be an interesting fixture here for Port Adelaide. I reckon they're going to be right around that mark for making finals. They might just fall outside. If they do make the finals, they could easily make the top 4. But I feel like if they were to make the finals, 5 to 8. Alright, so now moving on to the second last team of this video, and it is going to be Fremantle. So they had a massive off-season. They lost a fair few players to other clubs. They also gained a fair few players, one of those most notably being Luke Jackson, and then Jaeger O'Meara is another big one. Round 1, they open up their season against the Saints. Round 2 is North Melbourne. Round 3 is West Coast in the Derby. Round 4 is Adelaide. Round 5 is Gold Coast. Round 6 is the Doggies. Round 7 is Brisbane. Round 8 is Hawthorn. Round 9 is Sydney. Round 10 is Geelong in a big blockbuster clash. Round 11 is Melbourne. Round 12 is their bye. Round 13 is Richmond. Round 14 is the Giants. Round 15 is the Bombers. Round 16 is the Doggies. Round 17 is Carlton. Round 18 is Collingwood. Round 19 is Sydney. Round 20 is the Cats. Round 21 is the Lions. Round 22 is the Eagles. Round 23 is the Power. And round 24 is Hawthorn. So their second home ground, you could almost say, is Marvel. They play pretty well. They're going to be playing a couple of times there this year. I feel like wet weather footy is what they're going to have to improve on. But I feel like other than that, if they were to make finals, I don't think they'd be 1 to 4. They could definitely contend with the best and finish into the top 4. But if they do make finals, I see them being 5 to 8. So the last team is the Gold Coast Suns in this video. So let's go ahead and run through their fixture. So they're slowly starting to turn Metricon Stadium into a bit of a fortress. Is this the year where they finally break the shackles and make the finals? This year they finally do something massive and make the finals. Round 1, they've got Sydney. Round 2, the Bombers. Round 3, the Cats. Round 4, the Saints. Round 5, the Dockers. Round 6, North Melbourne. Round 7, Richmond. Round 8, Melbourne. Round 9, West Coast. Round 10, Brisbane. Round 11, Western Bulldogs. Round 12, Adelaide. Round 13, Bye. Round 14, Carlton. Round 15, Hawthorn. Round 16, Collingwood. Round 17, Port Adelaide. Round 18, St Kilda. Round 19, the Giants. Round 20, Brisbane. Round 21, Adelaide. Round 22, Sydney. Round 23, Carlton. And round 24, North Melbourne. This is not an impossible fixture to get the finals, to make the finals. I feel like they'll be right around that mark and contending there for most of the year. I feel like if they were to make finals, they would not be going any further than 5 to 8. I feel like if they were to make the finals, it would probably be a home elimination final, considering some of the other calibre of the teams. Gold Coast might not quite match that, but I feel like they could be in a decent position to actually make the finals, though, with this fixture. I just feel like they're going to have to want to win some upset games and definitely win those games they're favourites in, a good chance to win lots of games and make the finals. Alright, so staying on this line now, most of the sides, I feel like there's plenty of sides that can have a good crack at finals. Adelaide, Essendon, GWS, Hawthorn, North Melbourne, St Kilda and West Coast. I did not include them in this video because I feel like they might still be a little bit further away from finals than where these other clubs are. However, I still feel like Adelaide, St Kilda, I mean really any side is a good chance at finals. Just some sides are more advanced and more likely than other sides to make the finals. Example, West Coast, North Melbourne versus perhaps a Geelong and a Brisbane. I feel like Geelong and Brisbane are obviously more ahead in chances of making finals than North and West Coast are, just for an example. So, as we do know though, like Collingwood and Sydney have done it. They've jumped up from the bottom 4 in the past couple of years to make the finals. For example, really any of Adelaide, GWS, Hawthorn, Essendon, North, West Coast, St Kilda can have a big jump and make the finals. And any of these teams I've gone over can have a big fall and miss the finals altogether as well. So, not that I know who's going to make the finals or anything. I'm just putting out a prediction as to who I feel like might be some more contenders and teams that are actually going to have a realistically contention at the finals. Every team is a chance, but these are just the sides that I feel like could definitely have a really red hot go and make the finals in 2023. So feel free to let me know your opinion in the comments section, and feel free to let me know if you feel like there's any team that I've missed that could make the finals. As I've just said though, this is my opinion as teams that I feel like are realistically more of a chance to make the finals than the others. But as I've said as well, any team is a chance. They just need to have a magical season where they jump up and things can change just like that. and who knows, we could be reflecting on this video, and who knows after that who could be in the finals. So thank you guys all so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. Send you guys never miss another video on the channel. Thank you guys all so much. Bye everyone. Flaming Footy out.